in a gateway personality experiencing drugs. Because the drugs themselves are not necessarily bad. No drugs are bad. It's like saying guns are bad. It doesn't make any fucking sense. And I say no drugs are bad because amphetamines, which, work along the same lines as methamphetamines, are given to pilots in the Navy, in the Air Force. Because they increase awareness. They increase alertness. They have a definite potential for good use. The problem is that throughout our history, over the last 50 years, the war on drugs has become just outrageous. And as they make things illegal, and this was what happened with all the marijuana substitutes, all the spice and everything. Once you make something illegal, people are not stupid. So, I mean, a lot of people are stupid. Don't get me wrong. We all know stupid people. But people will find a way. People will find a way to get high, to get stoned, to get tweaked, to do whatever. Why? Because from a libertarian perspective, they have a right to. I mean, they have more of a right to decide that than I have a right to decide that they can't. But what happens is, once you make something illegal, then you have to find a way to produce something else that then can take its place, that is typically much more dangerous, it's much more potent, it's unregulated, very little is known about it. And so, instead of having marijuana, which has been used for many thousands of years throughout the world, then you get something like spice. Instead of having cocaine, which, again, found in the tombs of Egyptian mummies, for God's sake. Instead of that, you end up with bath salts and flocka and whatever the hell else. I mean, clearly much more dangerous. And I'm not saying that drugs aren't dangerous. They can be very dangerous. But like anything else, educating people from a real, objective standpoint, giving people the actual facts, instead of trying to propagandize everything. Just, oh, this is bad, drugs bad, okay? I mean, seriously, it's just a dumb approach. It is insulting to your audience to try to tell them one side of a subject and not tell them the other. Marijuana is extremely useful medically. Hemp is perhaps the most useful industrial product on the planet. But hemp has been... that was made illegal so that the paper manufacturers and cotton manufacturers wouldn't have to share their marketplace with what was plainly a superior product. And there are many, many strains of hemp that have no THC, that there is no potential to get high from. So anybody who wants to make the argument that is a pothead's approach, which I'm not a pothead. I just simply don't like bullshit. I think it's obnoxious. Like I said, it's extremely insulting. And anybody who spews that propaganda bullshit and doesn't know what they're talking about typically does it from a position of self-professed superiority or moral authority. Which, if you believe you're a moral authority, if you believe that you are a moral authority, you are not. It is just that simple. Because if you believe that you have any type of moral superiority over anyone else, you clearly don't. Anyway, alright, back to the Q stuff. Sorry about that. Alright, the Q-universe. Anyway. Okay, so we're going to go to... We are going to post number 1373. Autists, we thank you. Patriots, we thank you. We came here for a reason. Freedom of information. No filters. History books. Be proud. Together. WWG, 1WGA. Where we go one, we go all. Q. Now that is one thing that that really, like I said, I like Jerome Corsi. I think that he has a very beneficial skill set that could be used and was being used for a long time in decoding all of the Q stuff. But then he got all bitchy about the one post that, like I said, it never said his name. It never pointed him out. He just got butthurt by the whole deal because he assumed that he was the target of the accusation. But the problem was, even if he wasn't the target, he, in the end, proved to be the target because he did exactly what Q said he was going to do. And he flipped, and oh no, this Q is a psyop. And then I was watching a thing by him the other day, and he wanted to talk about how in the comments that he had received, there were all these attacks. There are attacks because it is extraordinarily clear that that Mr. Dr. Corsi's flip-flop on positions is purely personal. That's why people are pissed. That's why people are disgusted. It's not because Corsi had any legitimate information that pushed him to the point where he believed that Q is now a psyop and this is different Q and blah blah blah. No, it was from that one fucking post, and like I said, he got all bitchy about it, assumed that it was by him, and did exactly what the post said he was going to do. And it's like, really? I don't see how you had no expectation that this was precisely what was going to happen when you fucking did this. It doesn't make any sense. It's like, Jerome Corsi's a brilliant man, but it's amazing how easily brilliant men can allow their egos, and particularly when their egos are bruised, to get in the way of their common sense. And to me, common sense just says, hey man, do you remember the WWG, 1WGA, the whole where we go, one we go all? Do you remember that shit, Dr. Corsi? Because you know what? Everything else, Q aside, all of the crumbs, everything else, that's the fucking message, people. That is the message. That is the message for the liberals. That is the message for the conservatives. That is the message for the white, black, the gay, the straight, the transsexual, the transgender. It doesn't matter. That is the message for everyone, because plain and simple, bottom motherfucking line, we will improve this nation and restore it to a nation of constitutional rights and constitutional integrity, or we won't. We will grow as a nation, or we will crumble as one. That is what is going to happen. One side is not going to win and the other side lose. That is not where we're going with this. We may have to, and I believe in the Trump administration. If you don't like Trump, well, I understand. I can grasp that. He's a very abrasive man sometimes. He has his faults, for sure. But I believe that he's doing what he feels is the best thing for the country. And I believe that he knows that sometimes you have to drag people kicking and screaming in the direction of their own best interest, their own greatest future, because they simply are completely blind to it, or they want to contend that that is not in their best interest. But having a secure nation with libertarian principles, without a Federal Reserve, without 85 different fucking intelligence agencies that we have no control over as the people, and have had no oversight for decades. A nation where we truly treat everyone as equal. If you identify as a victim, well, too fucking bad. You don't get additional rights because your feelings are hurt. That's not how it works. You have the same rights everyone else has. And at some point, we will have to get to the point where more people in the nation produce, more people put back in, more people are contributing. Now, that there are definitely ways that could be made easier and be made more realistic in this country, and I'm for discussions of all of them. But we have to get to an objective line of reason on a lot of these issues before we can move forward. Alright, so Dr. Corsi, drop your shit. Just, you know what? If Q is a psyop, then okay, fine. But there's no fucking evidence that Q is a psyop now that wasn't there before you got all pissy about it. So quit taking it personal, get back on board, or at least don't try convincing everyone that Q is a psyop, because that is what is alienating the people who initially tuned in. I initially tuned into Jerome Corsi because of his Q interpretations. And I continue to watch Jerome Corsi because I think that he, like I said, I think he has, regardless of whether he's decoding Q or not, I think he has a very useful perspective on the world, especially on international issues. The man is he's clearly brilliant, but at the same time, Corsi's popularity spiked because of QAnon. And how Jerome Corsi doesn't understand that by actively attempting to turn people off of QAnon it's biting the hand that feeds you. And I don't think that it's terribly beneficial. And on the other end, you have Alex Jones, which I shouldn't say the other end because Jerome Corsi is part of InfoWars. But Alex Jones, who has a fucking dynasty with InfoWars. Oh man, I shouldn't say all this, but I'll say it anyway. Because I really don't, these are people who, they're on the same side. I mean, and we shouldn't be attacking one another when we want essentially the same things. But I just think that by attacking Q, and attacking those who, by proxy, by attacking Q, you are attacking those who follow Q and who have been turned on to the Patriot movement, I guess maybe you could say, via Q. By doing that, you're being divisive in a way that is not helpful. Now, I like the input that Zach gives to Alex Jones. I think that Zach is well informed and everything. I just, like I said, I mean, I don't think that there's the draw there that Q has. Is there the draw to InfoWars? There absolutely is. InfoWars is incredibly successful and looking to become more successful, which is why there are a few things that bug me about Alex Jones. Going after Ben Shapiro because Ben Shapiro pointed out something that was entirely fucking obvious, which is, hey, going on Alex